Hello and welcome to another Marty's Matchbox Makeovers. Today I will be making over a number 10D pipe truck, and these were first produced in 1966. This model needs a lot of TLC. As you can see, the paint finish is heavily damaged. The two rear uprights have been snapped off. Actually, I must confess I did one when I was trying to straighten it. The axles are rusty, the tyres are worn, and the windscreen is scuffed up and looks dirty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this thing apart and give it a good clean, a respray, and put some new axles on it and clean up those tyres. Here's the rear uprights that have snapped off. I'm keeping those for later. For this restore, I'm removing all of the axles and I'm going to replace them with homemade ones. I'm going to clean these tyres up in a bath of hot soapy water and give them a quick wash of Tamiya X1 Black and some thinners, and they should look brand new. These rivets are what I'm going to use to make the new axles. To begin with, I'm drilling out this base plate under the cabin. It's just one rivet holding it into position. That came out quite easily. Now, all you have to do is tip it up and the windscreen comes out. It's not glued in or riveted or anything. Now this just looks a bit dull and scuffed and dirty. I'm pretty sure it's going to come up looking good, even though it is 50 years old. When I put the base of the cabin back on, I'm going to use a small button-headed 2M screw. So to do this, I have to drill a hole in the rivet post and tap it using a 2M tap. Here's a shot of the screws I'm going to use to put the base back on with. So I've just drilled a pilot hole and now I'm putting a little bit of lubricant in there. And now I'm using the 2M tap to cut a screw thread inside the hole to accept the screw. It's really quite easy to do. Now I'm test fitting the screw to see if I've got the depth right. I've bought myself a new hand chuck to make this task easier. Having drilled and threaded the hole and placed in the new screw, it's now time to paint strip the model. I always use this Polystripper paint stripper. It seems to do the job really well. Today I'm not using any rubber gloves. I'm using some surgical forceps to hold the model and keep my fingers away from the caustic paint stripper. After it's softened the paint, I remove the paint using a toothbrush. Sometimes it may be necessary to repeat this process to remove all of the paint. Some of these scraps of paint that have come off in the bath of water, I'm keeping to help me colour match the paint when it comes to respraying the model. Now it's time to address these broken rear pillars. I thought I would have a go at soldering. I've tried it once before and it didn't work out too well. Some of my subscribers have suggested that I needed to use flux, so I've gone out and bought myself a flux pen in the hope that it will improve my soldering. I've masked off the area to prevent the flux from spreading too far over the bed of the truck. Now, I've done some electronics in the past, and basically what you do with electronics is you tin each component, which means you put a little bit of solder on it before you join them together. when you join them together, you're basically melting the solder which you have tinned the component with. So I'm trying to duplicate that process here. So I've put a little bit of solder on the truck bed, and now I'm putting a little bit of solder on the broken pin. Didn't seem to take too well, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. I'm hoping that when I touch this solder to this join, it's going to run inside the join and solder these two components together. The solder does not want to let go of the head of the soldering iron, but I'm hoping there's enough there just to hold the components in position until I can rework them. However, when I release the pliers, the upright just falls off, and there was no adhesion whatsoever. So I give up on the soldering, and now I'm thinking the only option left open for me is to use my super glue and baking powder method, which is tried and tested, and I've used it before on Matchbox models. So I'm going to do that now. It involves just super glue and baking powder. It's as simple as that. When the two are combined, they make a very strong bond. It may look a little bit unsightly, but after it's set, I sand it down with files and emery paper, and you won't even know it's been repaired. So that was one upright done, and now for the next. This is a shot of me removing the excess product with a craft knife. Prior to it setting fully, it goes like a rubber consistency, and it's a golden opportunity for you to now clean up the joints. Now it's fully set, it's quite solid, so I'm using some very fine emery paper just to wear it down and make it look like the real McCoy. The one on the left I overdid and it broke off, so I'm going again. Here's what it looks like after I've tidied it up. So after the pillars have glued into position, I give the whole model a coat of Tamiya Fine Primer. This way I can inspect the model to look for any imperfections. Well, here's two right here, a couple of pinholes on the bottom of that rear post. So I'm now filling them with some body filler and a small craft knife. I'll sand it down later. Hopefully, when this model has been resprayed, you won't know it has ever been repaired. Here's a couple of shots before I finished it off with emery paper. And now here I am doing some fine detailing. Once I've finished, I'll give it another coat of the undercoat, and then it should be ready for the colour. There were two versions of this model. One was an ergomatic and the other was a Leyland. This one is a Leyland. You can see the word Leyland cast in the front grille. And here's a shot of the detail of the deck and the cabin. Now today I'm experimenting with using some high pressures in my spray gun. I figure the higher the pressure, the quicker the job can be done, and therefore the more videos I can get out per week. So I've hooked up my little air gun to this industrial compressor. I normally have it set for between 50 and 60 psi, and today this is putting out 1360. Oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. I don't know where it's gone. Okay, I'm back now from hospital. I've got a bit of a headache, but never mind. I'm continuing on, and now I'm going to apply the top coat. I've gone back to my normal compressor for this process, as the heavy duty one didn't seem to work as expected. I'm using Mr. Hobby paint for this, but unfortunately I picked a matte flat one. So I had to resort to spraying it with some top coat, which I normally don't do. Anyway, long story short, I put too much top coat on and it went white. So I ended up stripping it back and repainting it with Tamiya X7 red paint. Now I'm going to clean the windscreen. I'm using this tried and tested product called Autosol. It's a metal polish, but it works really well for these perspex pieces. Remember, this item is 50 years old. So I've washed it in some hot soapy water, and now I'm using a cotton bud and some of that Autosol cleaner to polish up the windscreen. Some people have recommended other products, but I figure why should I change, as this product seems to do a fantastic job. Here's the base plate. I've cleaned it and just sprayed it with a standard silver spray from a spray can. To trick it up a little bit, I'm using this chrome pen on the bumper bar, headlights and chrome grille. You can't really see from this angle, but the difference is quite remarkable. This truck came with 6 pipes when new. Obviously they are now missing, so I am attempting to replicate them using my 3D printer. Here's a picture of 2 pipes. The top one I sourced online and the bottom one is the one I 3D printed. I think I got the dimensions pretty much smack on. The only thing is they're the wrong colour. So now I'm going to spray them grey and then give them a gloss coat to try to make them look like grey plastic as the originals did. I'm using XF80 Royal Light Grey for this. And after I did it, I wish that I had used a slightly darker grey, as I felt that it was too light and did not quite match the originals. But I can redo these later in a darker grey. So I'm holding the pipes using toothpicks stuck into a piece of polystyrene. Seems to work quite well. They don't look too shabby. So now I'm using this Tamiya clear coat to make them look like plastic. Well, they are plastic, but to make them look like high quality plastic. So here's all the bits ready to reassemble. I've done a test fit of the wheels just to see what they look like. The wheels, by the way, I painted with a thin down wash of Tamiya X1 Gloss Black. It makes the wheels look brand new. Here I am reforming the axles using my modified nails and drill press method. The axles, if you remember, are the rivets. So one end is already pre-formed and I only have to deform the other end to keep the wheels from falling off. Now a simple case of dropping in the windscreen and inserting the cabin base. And this is held in place with one of my 2M colour match screws. I'm happy with that. So here's the 3D printed pipes that have been painted, and for comparison here are the ones that I bought online. I must admit the ones online are a better quality product, but I do like the challenge of making my own parts. So this is what I started with, just as a reminder. 2 broken rear pillars, no pipes and shabby paint. Tired looking wheels and axles, and a scuffed up windscreen. And this is what it looks like now. New paint job, new axles, spruced up tyres, 3D printed pipes, cleaned windscreen and a new chromed grille. I think you'll agree it looks heaps better. So now here it is back on site doing what it was designed to do. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment. And I'll see you again next week on Marty's Matchbox Makeovers. Goodbye.
Okay.
I don't know where it's gone.
Do it again. Do it again.
I'm gonna be able to do it.
Okay, here we go. One more.
Ready?
Yeah. Okay, well we got the other one anyway.
That's a shame.